What is going on, everybody, and welcome back to Salty Runback, here to be your weekly intake of North American Developmental League of Legends. We are back with our regularly scheduled programming on a Thursday for our midweek episode, and we are just now about 48 hours away from the kickoff of the final week of the NACL Open qualifiers. It's been a ton of fun so far. We've already qualified 2 teams into the Challengers League, and now just 1 spot remains, and 10 teams are left to try and compete for it, and we're going to talk all about it and more. My name is Grapes, joined alongside Hawk. Hawk, how are you doing today?
Grapes, it's been a day. There's been a lot of talk about the Polestar stuff. We're recording this later the same night. Watch our video that came out last night at the time of release if you want to get caught up to speed on all the drama. We kind of give our thoughts, all coming from a place of love and want for improvement, but also trying to hold friends and others accountable. And I don't know, it's put a damper on the day for me, but otherwise it's been fine. And the important thing is we can now spend this episode celebrating tier 3 instead of worrying about all of that shit.
Yeah, I mean, the last week of the OQs was so fun. We got 2 qualifications. One of them, of course, being that crazy series that saw Apex Mission Impossible finally punch their ticket into the NACL in a 5-game banger. And we're going to hopefully get even more of that here. And I feel like the desperation, the pressure has been added on even more because of the fact that there's only 1 spot left for these 10 teams. This is basically all lower bracket matchups going forward, where if you lose 1 series, you are out, and you got to go perfect throughout the entire weekend in order to claim that spot. But before we get into things here, make sure you leave a like on the video, make sure you subscribe, make sure you click that notification bell so you know every day at every Tuesday and Thursday at noon Eastern and 9 p.m. Pacific. 9 a.m. Pacific, you know
9
exactly.
p.m.
9 p.m. Pacific, 9 a.m. Pacific. You know exactly when these Salty Runback episodes are coming out. And check out our Patreon as well. We got a new episode of CeeLo Office Hours dropping tomorrow. Probably an episode of Semi-Pro POV thrown in there as well at some point. We're still trying to lock down a player, I think, for that one. But we promise we're going to try to get somebody. And yeah, check it out.
Schedules are hard, but we're cooking. Dude, and you guys have been killing it with the subs and everything, so keep it up. We really do appreciate it. Also, again, our Discord link is in the description. I feel like it's becoming kind of like the place to talk about tier 2 and tier 3, man. A lot of CLOL discussion, a lot of NACL discussion, a little bit of first stand and traditional sports discussion going on as well. Definitely join. We got a lot of coaches and players in there now, and it's popping. So check all that out. But Gripes, let's get it started here, because I think we've got a very fun midweek episode planned for the people this time around.
Now, I feel like what everybody's going to do, there's 10 teams left, 1 spot. You know, the obvious thing is to just talk about why each of these teams has an opportunity to get the spot and things like that. But we're going to put a little twist on it, although maybe not like the biggest twist, as we have opened up the NACL Open Qualifier Burn Book. We're going full Mean Girls, baby. Are you Regina or Katie out of the 2 of us?
I feel like I'm the Regina. I'm going to be honest with you. I feel like I'm a bitch, dude.
That's not what I said. But
wait, what?
No, that's not what
I
said. Yeah, Sabrina Carpenter played Katie on Broadway for 1 day. And, you know, that's kind of my girl right now.
Who's the one that who's the really famous? Wasn't Renee Rapp also in Mean Girls? Am I crazy?
Yeah, no, they were both scheduled to be on together at the same time, and then COVID hit about 5 years ago.
Right.
And now they're both way too famous to ever come back to something like that. So that's a moment in time that we will lose forever.
Renee Rapp was there longer though, no, because she took a little bit longer to take off. I don't remember. I'm not the wrong person to ask about this, but. You know, you and I are theater guys. We're kind of tapped in. Like,
the musical is better than the movie version of the musical, which sucked. I remember watching that and I was very disappointed.
I've actually
Renee Rapp was great. Everybody else was.
I've not seen the Mean Girls musical. I've heard it's very good. I like the movie. There's a lot of musicals that I like better than the movie. So
check it out. Maybe take
a
listen
maybe
to
I
the
should.
soundtrack. But yeah, the burn book.
Anyway,
it's a very key part. Very key part of the movie, and it's basically where all the main characters, the plastics, they write these little burns into this little notebook and talk about why all of the different people in here suck. And so that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna talk about why everybody sucks because we had way too much positivity in the last couple of episodes, right? And so, Apex had the freest road ever. So we're gonna talk about why all these teams also don't deserve to make it.
That's
into the
fucking
ACL.
crazy. Oh my god. Yeah. We need to make ourselves feel better about the fact that we're not qualifying for an ACL, and so we need to drag everybody down to our level. We mostly just want to meme around about some of the teams and talk about them in what we thought would be a fun way. But Grapes, I think it's time to crack open the burn book and let everyone know what these teams' most embarrassing flaws are. Starting with Tempest Gaming, I believe. Do these guys even like each other?
Now, out of all the teams that are still left in this open qualifier, which by the way is going to be what we use as the definitive part of these stats down here, this Tempest squad only played 5 games together in competition. I mean, like everybody else played like 10, 11, 12 even, maybe more. But
Yeah.
with this 5 starting roster of Hoarder, Kizno, Darkwings, Aaron, and Minwi, only 5 games played together. And now I think as we can dive into what this means for Tempest moving forward, I feel like this could be a good thing and a bad thing at the same time. If you're looking at it on the bright side, you could say, oh, now they're going to have a whole nother week to play together. And, now with Aaron as a full part of the team and not Daption playing AD carry for the first week, like, we're going to finally get the chance to gel and go on a bit of a run here in the lower bracket. But on the other side, you could say, man, these guys really don't have the experience level together, even though they're such talented players. And you might be worried about what they look like going into this last week compared to the other teams that, might have a little bit more practice.
Yeah, I mean, dude, there's no denying the talent on this team. I mean, Kizno, Darkwings, and Aaron in particular, I think we've been pretty outspoken about how good we think these players are. I think Hoarder's actually had some good games in this tournament so far as well. I say actually like it was unexpected, but Hoarder's been having some good games in this tournament. I've not been particularly impressed by Minui's support, but he's still got time to cook as long as they had this past week and all that. But yeah, dude, they had like this other guy come into the friend group for a week and then they kicked him out, and now like the dude they went to
totally awkward.
Right, now the guy that they went to middle school with is like back after like having moved to Kansas for a year, and it's like, oh god, what the fuck? Like, so it's a little awkward, but I mean, we know they used to be tight. Like in elementary school, this was the 5. You know what I'm saying? And so they can still run that shit.
It feels like, I mean, just looking at the roster, I feel like everybody here has like kind of interacted with each other, maybe some capacities, connect some way. But I guess like Aaron and Minway have never played together. But like Darkwings and Aaron, that Slew core. I feel like Kizno and like Hank talks to some of those guys too. Like I don't know. It feels like a team that was like put together as like maybe friends as well as because they're all good League of Legends players. And
I will say multiple certified vibers on this team at the very least. Like
Minui's a viber, Aaron's a viber, Darkwings, Kizno both chilling. I don't actually know Hoarder too well, but he seems
I feel like this
well.
team's pretty quiet if I had to guess. I guess I've not really talked to Minui, so I don't know if he's like loud, you know what I mean, or like a shot caller, but I do know Kizno and Darkwings are at least like pretty reserved, and then Aaron is like outspoken, but like not really in that way. So I'm just curious.
Yeah. So I mean, I guess overall, like going into this team gameplay wise a little bit, like what worries you about how they looked against the Dog Fans where they did lose 2-1?
I just think they looked really unclear about how they wanted to play the game. Their approaches towards neutral objectives were not good, which is where Dog Fans was really able to take advantage. Again, I think Minui just still has some work to do on support, which is understandable. He's role swapping in a very high level tournament. He just got picked too many times. Engages were really good sometimes, and other times I'm like, wow, you're really far ahead of your team and you're gonna die. But I think like again, these are all fixable problems, and so that's kind of what I saw last week. It's so funny because I feel like for Tempest specifically, and then also Citadel when they lost, like we're talking so negatively on them when they're still definitely one of the best teams on the tournament, but it's because like they definitely choked a little bit. I think it's fair to say, but they could still bring it back for sure. Because again, like this, especially I think this mid jungle is fucking phenomenal.
Yeah, Kizna Darkwings. I mean, I mean, Kisno played great in the open qualifiers, and I think he even had like a pretty solid like first NACL split as well. Darkwings and
I
Aaron, I
agree.
feel like have just been very solid middle of the pack NACL players when they're there.
I agree. Yep.
And so like this is the squad that doesn't in high school like they don't study for the test or anything, and then they get the results back. They're like, oh man, I got like a 90, I got a 95. Like, oh, this sucks or whatever. But like they got a question. They gotta they it looks like even though they didn't practice a lot, they don't have a lot of time together. Like they are absolutely the odds-on favorite to be at least in that final
Yep.
match or at least the play-in match to get to that final match with Friendly Fellows kind of awaiting them. So let's talk about their opponent real quick as well as we can move on to St. Clair College, and these guys are the Scaredy Cats. They don't even want to fight. They have the least number of deaths per game, and this is a Team Hawk that maybe not all of us were actually expecting to make it this far.
Yeah, St. Clair's had a pretty good run of things. I would agree. I didn't think this team would make it this far. I think I had them lower than a team like UCI, who obviously lost to Fisher. We had them pretty close to. We had UCI, Fisher, and St. Clair, I guess, kind of all near each other. I think St. Clair was at the bottom of that pack, but I'm also surprised that they have the least deaths per game after watching their Citadel games.
Yeah, they die a lot in
To be
Citadel, at least,
completely
and
honest.
so it's
Yeah,
maybe a
dude.
little surprising that way.
These guys are just a little anxious or something, but fuck, it's working. I mean, congratulations to St. Clair. I think this is definitely one of the teams that, like, up until this point, they could be very proud. They could get 2-0'd by Tempest, and I think they had a great tournament. They made top 12. That's amazing. Good for them.
Yeah, we had so I'm just looking back at our tier list as well. We had Tempest in the qualify for an ACL tier. I guess obviously they're one of the big favorites coming in. And then we also had St. Clair in the day 4 potential tier. So only one tier below where they actually ended up becoming at the very least, but they really pulled it together in some really clutch wins. You think of the lower bracket tournament run that they had to go on included wins over Slated 6, OC as well. And then the last game that they played was a 2-0 over Fantastic 5, which was the team with Colthrow and Azog on it that a lot of people actually thought that they were going to go on a miracle run of their own after beating Red Note and beating YBN 1-0. So St. Clair looked very, very formidable. I would say that their carries are really the big names here. I think Flocon has had specifically a good OQ. I think Lig has had like a very good CeeLo season overall alongside Miracle. And I want to give a shout out to Ricky LaFleur as well. Kind of thrust into this roster,
Dude,
probably without a lot of
Ricky always
notice.
comes back and looks so good for this team. It's crazy, man. Like
he had a great Olaf game in game number 1 against Fantastic 5. I remember building some highlights for that for our Salty Runback show, and he absolutely 1v9 that game.
Dude.
And then game 2 wasn't even close. It was like literally a 19-minute finish. So
the
fact that they can stomp through that level of opponent maybe means that they don't need to die a lot because they just end the game so quickly.
That's true. I'm telling you, man, I don't know why St. Clair's like looking for different top laners other than Ricky LaFleur every year. This guy comes back in and he's the fucking
he's
goat
going to graduate
every
eventually,
time.
right?
No, I know, but he comes back and he's the fucking goat every time. I am happy to see that Flocon's doing well, to your point. I think Flocon's had a bit of a slow start to the CeeLo season. I know we were really hyped about this pickup. I thought this was one of the bigger ones in the offseason in terms of CeeLo. And like he wasn't bad. I think it's been taking a while to pick up steam. So having a good tournament is very nice to see because I do think this is one of the up and coming mids we have in our region for sure. And then I agree, Lig and Miracle are great. And then Maddie's been holding it down for a while. So I'm surprised that they've died the least, but they have died the least. They have, I think, 0.1 fewer death per game than Respawned. So credit to St. Clair for coming in first right there. And
any thoughts about the matchup?
They're afraid.
It's gonna be St. Clair against Tempest. You think St. Clair have any chance? I know we did like our 90-50-10. I might have alluded to a collegiate victory in one of these games, but it was probably I think it was my 10%.
I think I worry about St. Clair's top side a little bit. I think Ricky is the GOAT, but I mean I do think Hoarder's better. And also, I really worry about Maddie against Kisno. I think Kisno's the kind of jungler we've seen Maddie struggle against in the past, someone that's willing to directly attack him. I don't think Maddie's dealt with that kind of pressure super, super well. But I think Flocon in this bottom lane can definitely stack up against their opposition. I might actually even favor St. Clair's bottom lane a little bit. I don't know. That's still fucking Aaron down there, dude. Like, hard to say. But I think St. Clair has a chance. But, I mean, I favor Tempest.
Yeah, I probably favor Tempest as well, and they're probably the favorite to get out of this side of the bracket. But we can move on to our next teams and our next matchup here in the Burn Book and start flaming some more people. how do you keep dying to that? Speaking of most least deaths, we got the most deaths here in Dorado Gaming, the roster with ex-Royal Verdict, Sir Zepri, Zev, and Nukes, going on a bit of a run themselves, which included a 2-1 victory over Galaxy Gaming. But it seems like the KDA is maybe not looking as hot here.
Dude, I mean, hey, these guys are willing to party. Now, their series against Galaxy is missing from the stats. It is gone from existence, which is very upsetting, and it made it very difficult for me to prep for Sunday's broadcast. But yeah, that series is gone, so take it with a grain of salt, yo. But
boom.
But I mean, I think there's another team that's extremely happy to be here. It don't matter if they die all the fucking time because it's working. Sometimes you just got to keep throwing shit at the wall and hope it sticks. I also do want to go on record and say that I hyped up Sir Zep before this tournament. Specifically in the context of the Eutectics, I was like, that guy is actually really good. And you were like, I don't know. I'm here to collect. I'm here to.
He was playing off roll for the Eutectics.
Right, but I'm here to reap my rewards. This man also had fantastic tape on Maelstrom last year. So I'm going to cash in on the Zep hype. I think this guy is legit. I think he's a great player, and I think a big part of the reason why Dorado's here without having watched any of their games.
Yeah, I mean, I watched their Apex series, which they did lose to Apex, which was the last game that they played before getting into the promotion match against Dog Fans. But this Dorado team, very good at team fighting. They went back and forth with Apex in that regard. I feel like that was
Oh, wait, I did watch their series. Sorry, I totally continue. I watched that series too. I'm just
and they also played against St. Clair earlier on in the tournament, actually knocked them down into the lower bracket on day one. So that is kind of how they have gotten there, with some pretty big wins. And I think overall, not necessarily the team that we were expecting to be here, but I really like the way that Dorado have played things out. I think Nukes actually specifically has been playing really, really good. Also has just given me even maybe more hope over what PNW could look like, kind of on an unrelated note. But yeah, I think that Dorado, very happy to be here. I wonder if the Galaxy series would have changed their death numbers per game. Probably, honestly. But I feel like there were also some pretty long games on that end as well, so I'm not sure.
Yeah, I would agree. That series went on for a while. No, dude, I think this Dorado team's good. Sorry, I totally forgot. It was like 4 a.m. when I watched this series, so it's kind of... But, early games were a little rough, but they did look really good in the team fights. I do think Zep is that guy. I think Zev has played well. I think this is like a team just full of players that have been some of the better pieces on like random OQ teams in the past, and now they're all playing together and it's working. And so I'm really I think this team's had a fantastic tournament. Like they can be super happy with top 12 because Grapes, correct me if I'm wrong, I think we had them just in our day 3 tier. So a phenomenal showing for them to make it this far.
They were in our day 4 tier, actually, right behind St. Clair, who they did beat, and right ahead, actually, of Wang. So
never mind.
We actually rated this team
believed all the way, because I bet you in that tier list episode, I was like, yo, Zep's real, bro.
We'll have to do the VOD review on that. Let's take a look at their opponents here, Hawk. Roast them away.
Oh, yeah, who the hell are these people? We got the Fisher roster. They've had 9 players, I think. No, 14 players play a game. I don't know if this ever got crossed with Fisher Falcons. This is a starting roster, which was Bajani Burness, Waena, Brabro, and then Sword Blue, who is not normally on the main Fisher roster, but again, import restrictions in place with this team. And they've had like a lot of mercenaries come in, which they totally have, like, it's totally fine because they've had like C-Lol and stuff to contend with on their Saturdays. So I don't hold this against them, but I think it's extremely funny that they've had 14 people play, including like Reppy, which is like,
I know, right?
Plays for Northwood, you know what I mean? Like,
Pika Pika also played a game. I know he didn't actually get an OQ spot, which I was a little bit disappointed about, but he did get a game playing for Fisher at least. So maybe he could be a part of that consideration here. So, I have to assume the Falcons were a part of this count.
I think
Otherwise,
they somehow got
sense.
Like slammed into this statistically somehow, but we're gonna run with the narrative anyway because I think it's funny. Talking about teams again that have had a great tournament. Fisher, they were at the top of our day 4 tier, which we kind of even said like this team could definitely make final weekend. They have. I think they're raising their CLOL stock a lot. Huge win over UCI on Sunday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a banger. It went back and forth a ton. There was like the first game specifically, actually both games. Both games were like 40 minutes and had like 75 kills in each game. So it was a 2-0, but I would say it was it was a closer 2-0 than maybe some other 2-0s. But I think overall Fisher generally in control for the most of it. And did look like the better team than UCI at the end of the day.
Yeah, I would definitely agree. I think this Fisher team's good, and I think they're still finding their stride. Again, it's a lot of players that have not played together up until this point. Their macro's messy, but I'm gonna be honest. Like there's no denying the individual talent on this roster. I think WAAAAYYYY and Burness have got hands, and it's pretty impressive. And that's gotten them this far in the matchup against Dorado as well. Like I think it's super winnable for both teams. I think I favor Fisher, but only slightly. And then they got their work cut out for them against Tempest. But again, like this is huge for both teams.
I think I favor Fisher as well, although maybe just by a little bit, because I do like the tape that we've seen from Dorado as well. Fisher have another important game this weekend as well. I don't know how that's going to affect their OQ. Hopefully they can still play in both, but they're playing Northwood in the NACC upper semi-finals, which will also be another big test. It'll be actually them going up against Reppy, who also played with them, which is kind of funny.
So funny to me that Reppy played a game, dude.
But yeah, a big weekend for Fisher, both in CLOL and the OQ. I think we both have them favored at least a little bit here, and we'll see what they look like against the winner of that other series. But we're going to head on down over to the bottom half of that lower bracket and talk about some of our big favorites coming in. First one being Respawn, and I forgot.
This one cracks me up. He finished like way too fast. Both on Respawn's terms, but also like not on their terms. Like maybe a little bit of like, oh shit, they weren't trying to finish that quickly. And like it kind of ruined the experience against Near Airport. Yeah, because they kind of got blasted in that series. Because their average game time is very fast.
Just over 25 minutes, and for reference, there's another team out here that's played much longer games than that. We'll get into that in just a bit, but damn, Respawn, they smashed their opponents until they got smashed by Near Airport, and now find themselves in that lower portion of the bracket, and it's going to be a very interesting matchup against, of course, their future opponents. But Hawk, I mean, let's just talk about what we think about Respawn so far. They had some pretty impressive wins, I'd say, all things considered. I mean, first they 2-0 Desperado. Then it was a very quick matchup over Saving Private Dozer, a team that went pretty deep into day number 3. And then they 2-0'd Wang in that upper bracket as well. And that series did not seem close at all. Even though I think this Wang's team was relatively hyped up going into this. So things were going so smooth, like maybe almost too smooth, because as soon as they ran into Near Airport, it seemed like they ran into a bit of a brick wall.
Yeah, I've not seen the Wang series, but I saw the first two that they played. And obviously the Near Airport one. I think the bottom lane has had a fantastic tournament. Sushi and Mixture have really been playing great. I love the way that Mixture has been able to link up with Chad to set up a lot of plays. I think Sushi continues to look like the mechanical talent that we believe him to be. Shochi and Lawrence, it's been a little up and down. And Chad as well, I think. I think it's fair to say it's been a little up and down for all of them. I think they've both had really good games. They've both had, all three of them have had games where they don't look as good, and it kind of just depends. And that's just the nature, I think, of this team, or of any team. Obviously, it's hard to look good against Near Airport. It was definitely the top side that got blasted in that series, though. But again, like to me, especially like a guy like Lawrence, we always know he's going to be really solid at this level of play. And at the end of the day, it is mid and bot that are trying to carry this team. I think Shochi, to his credit, has been laning extremely well, which is really good to see. So against Bradley, I think that'll really come into play. But I'm also again, I mean, my opinion on this team hasn't changed that much seeing the tape, where I think they are one of the best teams in this tournament, but unlikely to promote. And it sucks, but I think that's how it is.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the more and more I watched them play against those teams going into that Near Airport series, the more and more excited I got for them. And then it seems like they kind of weren't really able to hold on much. I mean, TF, I mean, we didn't talk much about like the NA's gameplay last episode because we were talking about some of the other stuff around that team, but TF Blade went on an absolute heater this weekend
Oh
specifically.
my god, he was fucking nuts.
He dumpstered Lawrence. No offense, I love you,
No,
Lawrence.
he
but,
he shit on him, dude.
completely dumpstered him, and then solo killed Moose Hater. I think 7 times over the 3-game series. So
Yeah.
like maybe shout out to TF Blade for figuring it out in the last week, and if he plays NACL, might be towards the top of a very scary figure up there, but I don't necessarily think that's as much of a
No, I agree.
a knock to the top side of Respawn.
And for Chad as well, I mean, dude, he ran into LCS MVP Spica. Like, the Nidalee and the Zyra. Don't give Spica Zyra. I mean, I know that they're done now, but that champion is looking fucking disgustingly overpowered.
Yeah.
And then the Nidalee was just like, it was insane. Like the flash read on Shochi for first blood. Like, get the fuck out of here, man. What are you supposed to do against that? So I definitely think like I'm very willing to give the player some benefit of the doubt, at least given those games.
And I expect Respawn to play some longer games in this next series, unlike what they had previously done in the first 2 weeks of the OQ, because they're going to be playing against Citadel, who they look really good. They care way too much about how they look, actually. They're in the bathroom like doing all their makeup and shit like that, because as soon as they got knocked down to the lower bracket, they have been on an absolute tear. Highest KDA out of the 10 remaining teams, about 6 as a team combined. Remember, they got knocked down in the second round by Friendly Fellows, and since then, it's been a 2-0 over Forever Forward, a 2 over Flippers, 2-0 over Don't Ban Viego, and then a very quick 2-0 over Galaxy Gaming Hawk. Philip, Armeo, Bradley, Instinct, and Trevor, seems like things started to click for them a little bit after their loss.
Yeah, I still think this team has some macro problems, particularly how they just like approach setups for fights, but they've started to side lane pretty well. I want to give Philip a lot of credit for that. And then like that, dude, they're just so much better in the 5v5. Like their setups are shit, but they get into the, okay, shit's a strong word, but their setups aren't great, but they get into the fight and they just like are better. Like it's crazy. Bradley in particular absolutely destroyed Ariandel in that series against Galaxy, which I think was simultaneously expected, but also like not expected. And it was definitely worse than I thought it would be for Galaxy. Bradley was like an insane no MVP for that series to me. Trevor also, like once or twice per game, just like wins the game with an engage, which is pretty impressive stuff. Honestly, I like Philip Armeo and Instinct didn't have to do much, dude. Bradley and Trevor were just fucking 1v9. It was like, yeah, that was disgusting. But I mean, this team's just better, dude. Like, that's it. That's why their KDAs are so high.
Yeah, I mean, they have also, like, low-key, if we're talking about easy roads, like, obviously they had to lose in the lower bracket to Friendly Fellows, but they have not had the most difficult road until the Galaxy Gaming match, which I think you could consider to be
yeah, I mean, they're going to have to go through Galaxy, Respawn, Duckie Getters, and Dog Fans to make it to the final match. I think that's a pretty tough road.
I'm saying so far to get here, at least. It's not been as hard
sure,
as maybe
but
some
like
other teams that
they have to. So in the lower bracket, they would have had to win 8 back-to-back best of series to promote to the NACL. They're only 4 of the way through. That's like they're only halfway there. I think it's a pretty hard road, personally.
From now on, it gets a lot harder for sure. I mean, I think that we have Citadel.
They made Galaxy look easy
Respawn.
though. That series was not close.
Yeah. Do you have this team favored over Respawn for Saturday?
Unfortunately, yes. I don't think Respawn has their own setups down well enough, and I just don't think they have. I think Citadel has the hands to beat them. I think it'll be very close, though. I think both the teams have some issues with how they approach fights. I'm worried about Respawn from a hands perspective. But even looking at it, like I think Shochi can go toe-to-toe with Bradley. I think Sushi can go toe-to-toe with Instinct. I worry about the 2v2 against Instinct and Trevor, though, who are very good in lane. I think, Chad can go toe-to-toe with Armeo. But, like, I just look at the Citadel side, and I'm like, I think these players are slightly better across the board. They're just, like, slightly better. But I would love to be like wrong.
I think more consistent could be the right way to put it, where it's like every game, like you have this like kind of level that you're expecting out of them potentially, like at least on an individual level.
Yeah. And again, I don't say this is a slight to Respawn because I think they're all like it's just like that's how stacked the Citadel roster is. And I mean, I watched them hands gap the fuck out of Galaxy. It was brutal.
I will say the bot lane is going to be really fun to watch. If Sushi and Mixture can stand up to Instinct and Trevor in this series, like if they get a 2v2 kill in lane game 1, I'll lock in a little bit.
We
more.
never
Like,
got to
okay,
see this matchup,
happening.
because Sushi didn't join Lotus until Summer Split, so we never got to see this.
True, unless he ran into BlackRock.
No, they didn't.
Yeah, I don't think that happened. Yeah. Okay, well, that is certainly the biggest matchup to watch, I would say, in this first round, even though a lot of them are pretty good. Let's take a look at another team before we move on to our teams that fell down from the upper bracket, and that's the Duckie Getters, who they're kind of weird. They kind of got that weird alti vibe where it's not like fully normal. They're not super normal, and we didn't have a stat to come up with this one, but this is
they don't have a
certainly
stat.
the most creative team out of the 10 that are left.
Yeah, I think this team is very good. I'm going to come in with the take right now, live on Salty Runback. I think Duckie Getters is the number 2 team to promote behind the Citadel. I think Duckie Getters has looked fucking fantastic so far. They are one of the only teams playing hardcore side laners, with Draco picking things like Gwen and Camille. Vacant looks really good. RJS looks really good. And Enthralled and this nobody support, and I say nobody because nobody fucking knew who he was before this tournament, look really good.
He's been really good. Redemption, they've been really good so far.
Redemption's been great. Most important thing is that he's meshed with the team like very well. I'm impressed with the confidence that this like support I've never seen it before is playing with. It's actually reminding me of that old Duckie Getters team, like the confidence of like Bio, right? Like, and Rough Beans, like it's the same kind of like swagger. Dude, Enthralled like slammed the Vayne against Slated 6 and like shoved it down their throat. I was like, okay, that's just like that. I think this team is extremely good. I think they're the number 2 to promote. I think the Duckie Getters Citadel series is going to be absurd. I don't have much else to say other than that. I think this team's great.
Now, the series that they lost was against Friendly Fellas, and I frankly just there wasn't really a stream available to watch that other than through Vacant's POV, and I was also focused on some other stuff there. But it was a very close series, presumably. It was a 2-1 in favor of the Friendly Fellas.
It was extremely close. It was extremely close.
During the streams that I tuned into Vacant's stream a couple times earlier in the day, and like from just like the clips that I was watching, it seemed like the Duckie Getters were like maybe in control for a good portion of that series. It just eventually, I guess, maybe fell
their
apart
early
in the
games were
decisive
better.
game
Their
three.
early games were better.
So, I mean, it just depends on how highly you rate Friendly Fellas, because that means you're rating Duckie Getters ahead of Friendly Fellas in terms of potential power ranking of who could promote the most, who's the most likely to promote, I guess. But
yeah, I guess that's controversial.
I mean, hey, you said it was a hot take.
I'm going to stick to my guns, though. I think Duckie Getters win that series if they run it back. Because it was a very close series. I think Duckie Getters had better early games. They fell apart a little bit in the team fights. Hey, Wixie's just that guy, right? But
yeah. And as sad as I
about
am,
the way this team plays, I am amazed at how coordinated this team is for like how random this roster looked to me when it came together. And I think that speaks volumes first to Vacant, who shot calls this team. Amazing comms, but also just like these players as a whole. I think they've just really like come together very well.
Yeah, and as sad as I am to not see the Enthralled Hiccup bot lane run it back from the Duckie Getters last split, I feel like the way that this team of 5 has actually been formed works out a little bit better potentially, because Vacant and RJS can both kind of take more of that utility role versus like Abaya and Rough Beans. They were more of like the carries on that team. I feel like this one is like, Vacant plays a lot of Ivern, RJS can whip out something like the Karma, and they have like more utility in their mid jungle that just having like an engage, a tank player in the support role, I think is a little bit more consistent to them. I wonder though if now that like lane swaps are fully gone, and also especially against a team like D0WG Fans, who is unafraid to play ranged supports, like I wonder if maybe they start to mess around with their roster a little bit. But I'd be pretty surprised if they switch things up.
That'd be extremely funny, dude. Yeah, I wonder. I actually do wonder. And we did we get to see Duckie Getters against CCG? I'm trying to remember if we've seen Trevor play against Enthralled and Hiccup. Regardless, that's not really that relevant. I do think my one concern for this team, Redemption hasn't played the lane very well, and like, hey, every new player is gonna have something that they struggle with. So I do think that's like one concern I have for this team, but I agree, dude. I think this team's fantastic, and I think overall, like, I'm just really impressed with the individual level of everybody here. So, they might have that weird alt vibe, but I kind of like it.
No,
Is
yeah.
that?
That's okay. Oh, you're okay. This is one of the teams that we
Dude,
actually
I
ranked
like.
properly,
It's just
by the
like
way.
real life.
Come on, man. They're in our final weekend here from a tier list, so this is actually a team
Yes.
that we did get correct.
Yes, we got this one
and,
right.
and as we move on, we could talk about maybe a team that we also, I think, got correct here in the friendly fellas. We had them in our final weekend here, although at the very bottom, and they are just coming off of a 3-0 loss to Near Airport, and I think this loss to Near Airport might have actually put them in. You know, you were talking about that alt vibe. These guys might got more of a goth vibe here.
Yeah, dude. They like fucking talk about like death and shit all the time or something. It's kind of similar to the Dorado one, where this team just has a terrible KD, which is
Yeah,
really
they
funny.
average 17 kills per game and average 20 deaths per game. That was the biggest discrepancy in the negative direction out of any of the 10 teams that are still left.
But I think it just goes to show, like, dude, this is always what I've come to expect from like the Wixie Moose Hater team is they're just always gonna play their game, and it's never going to be pretty, but like it's going to work somehow. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
I think this is just part of it.
It's been a really fun watch. I mean, even against Near Airport, where let's be honest, they did get outclassed a little bit. Specifically, I would say on the top side of the map, where Moose Hater like really got gapped by TF Blade, and I think Spica just was overall one of the MVPs of the series. Actually, yeah, Dunn also had a tough time, but I think it was also because Pobelter like stole away his victor in game one. That might have just mental boomed him the rest of the way. This team had a tough go of things. Wixie had like
Everyone
the best
had a tough go of
performance.
things against NA, bro. Like,
Yeah. Wixie in game two, like, really popped off. I think he was playing Ezreal, and like it was like a 45-minute game where him and Tyson were like solo keeping the game alive somehow. And so that is where I'm looking at. I feel like this is one of the stronger bot lanes as well. In the tournament that's still left. I say that, and then I just think of the other bot lanes, and I remember that there's just so many really, really good bot lanes here. But like that's certainly this team's strength, and also their creativity and the way that they like set up team fights and the like, just like the Moose Hater Wixie teams of old.
yeah, I'm actually really curious. Is this the best bot lane? I mean, I don't think. We had a conversation about how good all the AD carries are on our last episode. I think Wixie is making a very strong argument to be the strongest AD in the event.
I think Instinct gets a
I was about to
shot as
say
well. He's been playing
Instinct
really,
has
really
also
good.
been fantastic. Nightstar has been fantastic. Didn't look as good against Apex though. I mean, maybe that's just a question we'll have to answer at the end of this weekend. Yeah, I don't have much else to say about this team. I unfortunately have not really gotten to cover much Friendly Fellas, so I just haven't watched much of their games. That's the drawback of being on the main broadcast is I've watched the games of like all the teams that I followed and the people they played against, but you know, Friendly Fellas like it just didn't really come up.
You don't get as much freedom to click around. That's
Exactly. So like I've seen the games against like who was it? Sorry, I'm blanking completely. Duckie Getters. I got to see those games, but I don't get to see all the others. So, I don't know. I think this team's really good. I do definitely think they're not like fraudulent. I know a lot of people kept like doubting their run. They had by far the hardest possible schedule to promote through the upper bracket, and they made it all the way to that Near Airport series. And they got fisted, but I mean, very clearly everyone like Near Airport was just better than everybody. So I don't think I hold that against them. I don't think I hold that against Respawn, or anybody.
And I think it goes to show, like, everybody on the desk that we had on our Salty Runback production with Titan Esports on this, all predicted Friendly Fellas to at least take a game. Shibby, like, went the full extreme and had them winning, which I don't think even he really believed. But I think just, like, the fact that we all were considering, like, hey, this team could do it. This team had a chance. They almost were able to pull off an upset in game 2 of the series, but as soon as they lost that one, I think we all knew it was pretty over from there. But yeah, I'm excited to see what this Friendly Fellas team does. We're only going to see them on the second day, it seems like. They'll be awaiting the winner of that like Tempest quadrant. I think a lot of people are expecting it
That'll
to be
be
Tempest, although it
big
could be
series.
any of the other four. I agree. That'd be a really, really fun one to watch. So we can move on to our last team that we're going to be talking about here in this episode, and that is the Dog Fans. And man, when I look at this team in the burn book, they are just way too obsessed with them damn video games. They have the longest average game time and also the most games played out of any team in the tournament, including the ones that have already promoted into the NACL. They've been on a lower bracket run. Almost every single one of their games have gone the distance, including that 5-game banger against Apex.
Dude, this team is so fucking funny, dude. Like, they come in, they get an FF in their first round, and then they play 3 straight 3-game series against progressively better teams, including upsetting one of the tournament favorites. And then they play the 5-game, like, average game time of this series was probably like 45 minutes against Apex Mission Impossible. A 37-minute average game time is diabolical. I mean, that's so long. And this team is so fun to watch. I love them. Barrick has been having an amazing tournament. Nightstar has been having an amazing tournament. And then King Clueless, Lycomos, and Protoss, dude, like, I was not expecting this. It's like, I mean this in the, like, I don't know how to make it not sound a little flamey, but, like, I never saw this coming.
We had this team at the very bottom of day 4 potential, actually right ahead of third party and right below actually Kabuko's Brewery, who got knocked out very early to third party just because of the lower bracket matchup that they had there. This team, as you said, have gone the distance. They have faced elimination in every single series that they have played, which I find to be
they are game
very,
3
very
merchants.
funny.
They also won game 3 against Apex. If that was a best of 3, they would be in the NACL as Protoss has so
undefeated in game 3.
Said. Yeah, they are game 3 merchants, dude. Like, don't go to game 3 against the Dog Fans.
And honestly, like, you know, watching that series that they played against Grandview, like, I was almost expecting Grandview to win that series.
No,
and look at the run that they've gone on since then. I mean, it's been pretty impressive. The one thing I will say about the Dog Fans is, you know, first of all, they love to play their long games. They love to team fight and things like that. And I wonder what their laning is going to look like against maybe some of the even stronger teams than the ones that they have faced, you know, if they run into a Citadel or a Respawn, which is awaiting them at the other end of the bracket here. And the other thing is, if they do get to the best of 5, if they do beat the Citadel and get into that final qualification series, it seemed like they were running out of champions in the Fearless. I mean,
Yes.
in the nicest way possible. There was a Heimerdinger, there was a Twitch Yumi that actually, you know, kind of
That was
ended up doing
Apex's
okay.
Twitch Yumi, but yeah.
Oh, sorry, yeah.
They
by
played,
Apex, actually.
oh god, what did they play against the Twitch Yumi?
I remember just looking at that game 4 draft, and I'm like, we got a whole nother.
Oh,
game
it was
out of this, and this
garbage.
is what
It was
Fearless looks
garbage. I
like
hated
already.
it. I just don't remember what they played.
And the thing that stuck out to me most was like King Clueless like locking in Nocturne in like the worst Nocturne angle game ever in game 5, where I don't think he had like a single. Well, he had like I think only like a couple of like impactful ultimates in an entire like 55-minute game. It seemed like that champion just did not fit with what the rest of the team did. It seemed like they only locked it in because it was like, okay, Clueless, like what jungler do you have left? You know, out of all the after all the picks and bans, and he was like, yeah, give me Nocturne, I guess.
That was a weird pick. It's so funny too. I thought the Dog Fans draft was better in that game, which might have been bad analysis on my part, but also like I don't know. I don't want to be results based about it. I thought their bot lane would like perma push, and then they'd have like a Nocturne that can do neutral objectives, and they could just play for picks. The Nocturne wasn't great though. The Nocturne was definitely not great.
The way it was used wasn't great at the very least.
100% agreed. No, I think the Nocturne wasn't great, but yeah, I mean, I felt like Apex was maybe running out of champions in certain places as well. I agree. I do think that's a concern. I mean, I am not sure what Protoss plays outside of the champions we like literally saw in those 5 games. Because it definitely felt like to me that the Heimerdinger was definitely a dig deep kind of pick. I'm gonna be honest. I don't think I expect this team to promote, but their run has been absolutely magical, and I have loved every 37 minutes of it. So
they gotta go to at least another 3-game series in there on Sunday at the very least.
Don't go to game 3 against Dog Fans.
Do it for the culture.
If they beat the Citadel or the Duckie Getters in a game 3, I'm gonna lose my fucking mind. Like I'm gonna go crazy, dude.
Oh man, I'm really excited for this final week here. As that's the last game
It's
actually
gonna be
that
so
we have
good.
to cover.
That's it.
I mean, by the
here's my
end of
light.
this weekend, Hawk, we're gonna know all 10 teams. Well, actually, hard to say actually, but
There's a
we're
lot
gonna
of
know the 3 teams
ongoing
promoted
situations.
through the NACL Open qualifier. And I say, like, for as much as it's been maybe controversial, it's been a very fun format. We eventually got there after some of the scheduling issues and things like that, and the fact that we didn't know a lot of information. It's ended up in a good place, and I think we're all excited to see what the conclusion of this 3 weeks will be.
I would love if there could be no more controversy that comes out of it. I know there's a lot of talks of if Near Airport doesn't play, they're going to give it to the 4th seed, this, that, the other thing. Guys, let's just close it out strong, because I agree. I think this tournament has been a blast to watch for me personally. Following a giant bracket gives me joy, and this has given me joy. I'm unfortunately going to be not really available this weekend, so I probably won't watch the games too much, but I'll try to catch them after the fact. I'll try to stay up to date because, dude, this shit's fun, and I love it. Be tweeting for me at Hawkcasts, at Speedy Grapes, at Salty Runback NA. Be sure to be tweeting everywhere about the game so that I can follow it all the way down in OC. Follow us on all of our other social media, our Patreon, at Salty Runback NA. Make sure you like and subscribe to the video. Make sure you join our Discord. And if you don't think that the dog fans love the video game, if you think they hate it, you can take what we said with a grain of salt. I've been Hawk. That's been Grapes.